Hello, I'm Roger Blair, and I'm a wood carver, and I was selected to be in the Kentucky Craftsman book. Today I will teach you how to make a box turtle. Here's a real box turtle shell, and that is what we're going to try to make out of wood. And if you want to learn how to make this, it will be in the description below. Now, I've already got this one roughed out, this wood box turtle. And the reason they call it a box turtle is because they can shut their shell up so tight that you can't find a head or a tail or a foot sticking out anywhere. They're tight and they can pull their shells so tight that it's just like a box, hence the name, a box turtle. Now today, we are going to have this turtle just opening his shell just enough to see his head and feet poking out. Now here's one I've made earlier. It's already painted, but it is made out of wood too. And you can see how he is opening his shell and just starting to push his feet and his head out the opening. And that is what we're going to make today. I'm going to show you how I start. Now, when it was cut out, this was a solid wood. And I take up a pencil and mark out the lining, the shell edges, which I will show you in the description. I was talking about how all that's done. But after you get that drawn out, we start with a carving knife, one that has a good short, sharp blade. Make sure it's sharp because you can cut yourself with a dull knife quicker than you can with a sharp knife because you're pushing a lot harder. With a sharp knife, you don't have to push so hard into the wood to get it to cut. Now, what I'm carving out is his head and his two front legs coming out of the shell. So you've got the lines drawn for the shell edges, and you carve along the edge of his shell, along the line, and remove everything that don't look like a turtle. And if you can find a pictures and all that you can find are the best. More pictures of a box turtle or a real box turtle. You can have that. Keep them for just a little while to look at them and study them and release them back out in your yard. That's what I've done for years. You learn a lot about nature that way. So I'm just carving along the lines that I've drawn out along his shell. See how it's shaping up already. And if you have a real turtle shell to go by, you know exactly where the lines should be and where you should have the angles right. And where I think there's a five toes on a box turtle. So we'll carve those on his front feet because turtles, they use their sharp toes to dig through the grass and all that they feed on. And in the woods, you find a lot of box turtles. And I think they use their front feet to dig in the ground to lay eggs, because turtles lay eggs to reproduce. And see, I'm already getting the head protruding in the hole that's back in his shell. He's got his head pulled back. And just like a little spring, his neck is. He's got pulled back, but they can stick their head out 2 inches, or 1.5 inches, I would say. And their feet. I don't see how they get all that crammed back into their shell and shut it so tight. But they can. That's the way God created them. Wonders of nature. And when you're carving, you can just, all your troubles go away. You just every little piece that's cut off, that's one more cut. You just carve, and you always kind of stop and look at it and say, is that what I'm wanting to do? And you might take a pencil and mark how you want his eyes will be later, but so you can keep everything on one side. Draw you a line down the front of his head, his little beak. He's got kind of a beak nose. It's hard because they eat a lot of they eat grasshoppers and fruits, wild things out in the forest. They have sharp teeth, not teeth, but sharp edges on their mouths. So you go down the middle of the shell and draw a line too, so you can have each side always the same when you're carving and drawing all the lines for his scales on his shell. Now we'll get back to carving his feet. Now we'll see how his feet are. We're going to try to have them something like that. We'll just keep whittling away just a little at a time. Don't get any big hurry because we don't have a time limit on this. And I won't get done in this first video, and we'll probably have more later. And we'll go all the way from carving to the finished painted product. When we get done, we'll try to make it look just like a real turtle coming to life out of his shell. And just try to put as much life in it as we can. See, you can already see a head coming out of that. I always have to stop and look at what I've already done and see what I like, see what else needs doing. The way their front toes are, they're crooked to the side. I don't know how it's how they're made where they can draw their feet back up in their shell. It's amazing how they do that. Now we'll kind of draw the little toes, so we'll get an idea how we're doing it. His eyes will be back in there. We have to carve a lot more out on the sides so we can have the room. And when you're carving, always remember where your thumb is, because when you're carving like that, you don't want to slip and cut your thumb. So always have your thumb on the other side of the piece of wood you're carving, so you don't have any slips. And when you're taking your time, it's best to think it out. Okay, see, we're already getting some definition here. I don't know where turtles go in the wintertime. I think they bury themselves in the ground under leaves, because they're cold-blooded reptiles. And they're hibernating. So I don't know exactly where they go. I'd like to put a transmitter where I could follow one around and know where it hides out during the wintertime. Maybe a bunch of them get together in a hollow log or in a cave, groundhog hole. Not sure. But I know they come back out in the spring. For some reason, I'll stand right in the middle of the highway. I try to pick up as many as I can that's standing in the middle of the road, but most of them get across without no trouble. If you ever find a turtle and wonder if it's a male or female, all you have to do is look on the bottom of the shell like this real one. Now if it's a smooth bottom, it's a female. If it's got a little indentation here, it's a male. So that's a way you can identify them, male and female. So this one was a male, and I'm making a female because I'm going to have a smooth bottom on the bottom of his shell here. We're coming right along here. We'll make his top of his feet right here. Now you always got to remember the grain of the wood. The grain of the wood on this one is going this way. That's the way the tree grew, and the grain is going this way. And when you're carving, you don't want to have something sticking out here without support, because it'll just snap off because of the grain of the wood is going this way and a break along the grain. So you got to think it out and try to not have anything that's going sideways really by itself, or it will break. So that's something that I'll try to describe later on in the descriptions that I'll put below. So I'm carving the top of his feet, and you want to gouge back in there and being real careful. Sharpen his head up just a little. The nose is kind of a sharp point on it. look at my one I've carved before and just see where the eyes are positioned and how his face is shaped, the tip of his nose, and how he's put together. And I kind of draw his eyes in there just so I can know how everything's coming together. I'll probably carve that wood off later that I've marked on. I'm just trying to make him look like a turtle, and I'll draw it on with a pencil and just see how the wood is carved and what needs to come off. I'm putting the separation between his shell on top and the top of his head. How's that looking? Does that look like a turtle devil? Coming along. This is how you make a box turtle. Part 1.